repeatedly pairing the sound of the bell with the presentation of food, the dog eventually salivates in response to the bell alone, even in the absence of the food. That is Pavlov's dog experiment. So this is demonstrating that the learning occurs through association, stimuli, things that coming from outside. Also, it is widely applied in fields such as education, marketing, and therapy. Here, the diagram shows before the conditioning, during the conditioning, after conditioning, right? So food was presented to the dog, then the dog smells the food. Right after that, dog salivates, right? And then the pairing comes with bell or whistle sound when the food is presented to the dog, right? So at the same time, whistle sound and the food, then dog salivate. Due to this pairing many times, then after that, the dog salivates when hears the whistle sound. That is famous Pavlov's dog experiment. Okay, other theory was operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is learning through consequences. Okay, so this theory is developed by B.F. Skinner. So operant conditioning that focuses on how consequences shape behaviors. So operant condition is active. That is meaning that the behavior is influenced by reward and punishment. So Skinner, he demonstrated this principle using by Skinner box we call. It is experiment chamber where the animals learn behaviors through reinforcement schedule. For example, the little mice would press the lever button to receive the food. This is reinforcing force action. There are some different part operant condition. Just remember there's positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay. Positive means adding something. Negative means subtracting something, removing something. Okay. So positive reinforcement, that is explaining that adding some desirable stimulus to increase good behavior. Okay. So like it is like a giving praise for complete homework, right? And then negative reinforcement, removing something unpleasant stimulus to increase behavior. So canceling quiz when students perform good in the classroom. Okay? So that means unpleasant stimulus. There was quiz. So teacher removes when students perform well in classroom. That is negative reinforcement. Then also there are positive punishment, adding unpleasant stimulus to decrease behavior. Like, teacher give more homework when student is not behaving well, right? So extra assignments for misbehaviors. That is, punishment is adding to decrease certain behavior, negative behavior. And then also there's negative punishment. That means removing the pleasure stimulus to decrease behavior. So it is like, taking, away some kind of privileges for breaking the rules. When students doesn't follow the rule, some kind of pleasing things can be removed. Okay, that was about last week's, a summary for behavioral theory. Okay, today we'd like to talk about continuing discussion of behavioral theory, behaviorism. Behavioral theory is widely applied to any academical field, any society, any industry fields. So mostly it is applied to education and therapy. So in education, teachers use reinforcement to encourage students' participant and achievement, right? Teacher can use reward, praise, and then, the positive, structured learning environment. Also, behavioral theory is widely used in therapy. So behaviorist techniques such as systemic desensitization and applied behavior analysis that is used to test, treat, profiles autism and behavioral disorder. Also, behavioral theory is used in workplace training. So employees, they can use incentives, right? And performance-based reward to shape employee behavior. Also, that is used marketing and consumer behaviors. So mostly used one is advertisement, right? Advertisers, they can use behaviorist principles to create brand association and consumer habits. we like to see a little bit of criticism about behavioral theories. Okay? Behavioral theory is it is criticized for neglecting cognitive process and intrinsic motivation. That means behavioral theory ignores something, some kind of a reason, triggers that is coming from inside of our mind. So that's why the behavioral theory is criticized. Also, critics argue that human learning is more complex than simple stimulus response associations, and that the behaviorism does not account for creativity, emotions, high order thinking, right? Yeah, those things all coming from inside of our mind. Then the rise of cognitive psychology in the mid-20th century challenges behaviorism by emphasizing the role of mental process in learning. Anyway, even though there are some criticism about behavioral theory, still behavioral theory is remaining the most important foundation in psychology, particularly in behavior modification and its applied settings. So these are all about behavioralism. Okay? Just remember. Just understand. I want you to understand. Behaviorism is developed by Ivan Pavlov, B.F. Skinner. Okay? Ivan Pavlov, he developed classical conditioning. B.F. Skinner, he developed operant conditioning. Negative, positive punishment, right? Here. Positive, negative reward, reinforcement. So reward, reinforcement, punishment that is used to change people's behavior. That is operant condition. So now tonight we are going to see second learning theories, that is cognitivism. Okay, cognitivism is shifting the focus from external stimuli and observable behavior to internal cognitive process, such as our memory, problem solving, and information processing. So cognitism is more focused on inside of our mind, not outside, external stimuli and observable behaviors. Okay? They don't consider those things. They only want to see inside of our mind. That is cognitivism. So, this learning theory is suggesting that human activity is processed. We are all process the information, the knowledges, and also developed mental models to understand the world. Those things all happen inside our mind, right? So that is cognitism. So it is unlike behaviorism that is focused learning as response to stimuli, right? But cognitism is more focused. They like to see learning that is active process involving the organizations and structured information. So cognitivist theories that have profoundly influenced education and instructional design and artificial intelligence research. Okay, cognitism, the most important figure is John Piaget. He developed cognitive theory. Okay, before going John Piaget's cognitivism, we just like to see the brief explanation about what the cognitivism is like. Okay, let's watch one short video. Sound was off. Okay.
Cognitivism is a theoretical approach that focuses on the mental processes involved in learning, thinking, and problem solving. It is based on the belief that the human mind is capable of acquiring knowledge, and that this knowledge can be represented and manipulated in a way that allows individuals to solve problems and make decisions. Cognitivism emerged as a dominant theoretical perspective in psychology during the 1960s and 70s. Prior to this time, behaviorism was the dominant approach, which emphasized the role of external stimuli in shaping behavior. Cognitivism, on the other hand, emphasized the internal processes that underlie human behavior. One of the key ideas of cognitivism is information processing. According to cognitivists, the mind can be thought of as a kind of computer that receives information from the environment, processes it, and generates output in the form of behavior. This information processing is thought to be governed by a set of mental processes, such as attention, perception, memory, and problem solving. Cognitivists believe that these mental processes can be studied using a variety of research methods, including observations, experiments, and computer simulations. They use these methods to investigate how people learn, how they process and store information, and how they use this information to solve problems and make decisions. Another key concept in cognitivism is the idea of schemas. Schemas are mental frameworks or structures that organize and interpret incoming information. They are thought to be based on prior knowledge and experience, and are used to make sense of new information. For example, imagine you are a student learning about the parts of a cell in biology class. You already have a schema for what a cell is, based on prior knowledge, and this schema helps you to organize and interpret the new information you are learning about cell parts. As you learn more about cell parts, you may refine or modify your schema to better fit the new information. Cognitivists also emphasize the role of attention and memory in learning and problem solving. Attention is the ability to selectively focus on certain stimuli while ignoring others, while memory is the ability to store and retrieve information over time. Cognitivists believe that attention and memory are critical to learning and problem solving because they allow individuals to focus on relevant information, retain it, and use it to solve problems. One of the main criticisms of cognitivism is that it tends to oversimplify the complexity of human cognition. Critics argue that cognitivists reduce human cognition to a set of mechanical processes that can be studied in isolation from the social and cultural context in which they occur. In response to this criticism, some cognitivists have emphasized the importance of studying cognition in context. They argue that cognition is not just an internal, individual process, but is also shaped by the social and cultural environment in which it occurs. This approach, known as situated cognition, emphasizes the importance of studying cognition in real-world contexts and recognizes the role of social and cultural factors in shaping cognitive processes. Overall, cognitivism remains an important theoretical perspective in psychology and cognitive science. It has contributed to our understanding of how the human mind processes information, learns, and solves problems, and has led to the development of a variety of practical applications, such as educational technology, cognitive rehabilitation, and artificial intelligence. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up.
Okay. So this video explains that cognitivism that is focusing more on our mind, not from external stimuli, observable behavior. They don't like to see those things. They want to see our memory, the problem solving techniques, and then how human process informations coming from outside. Okay. So cognitism was developed by Swiss psychologist John Piaget. He developed one of the most influential cognitive learning theories. He proposed that children progress through distinct stages of cognitive development. So the learning is occurring through active construction of knowledge rather than passive absorption. So Piaget, his work has influenced student-centered education, which emphasizing the hands-on learning and discovery-based instruction. So John Piaget Piaget, his learning theory emphasizes human being has active construction of knowledge that happens inside of our mind. Also, he developed Jean Piaget's theory. Okay, Jean Piaget's theory that is 4 stages of cognitive development. Okay. Okay. Jean Piaget, he developed 4 stages of cognitive development. The first one is sensory motor stage. That is between birth and 2 years. Infants, they explore the world through sensory experiences and motor actions. That is we call object performance. The understanding that objects exist even when it is not seen. Okay, so object performance developed at these stages. Next one is pre-operational stage, age between 2 and 7 years. Children, they develop symbolic thinking and the language, but they struggle with logical reasonings and perspective taking. Third stage is concrete operational stage. That is age between 7 to 11 years. So logical thinking emerges, that is allowing children to understand the concepts such as conservation, that is the idea that quantity remains the same deposit that is changed in shape or arrangement. The last stage, fourth stage, is formal operational stage, since 11 years and up. So abstract reasonings and hypothetical thinking develop, that is enabling individuals to solve complex problems and think scientifically. So let's watch short video of Jean Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive theories development. There are 4 stages.
Piaget's theory argues that we have to conquer 4 stages of cognitive development. First, the sensory motor stage. Second, the pre-operational stage. Third, the concrete operational stage. And fourth, the formal operational stage. Only once we have gone through all the stages, at what age can vary, we are able to reach full human intelligence. 1. The sensory motor stage, ages birth to 2. In the sensory motor stage, we develop through experiences and movement our 5 senses. Our brain wants to see, hear, smell, taste and touch as much as possible. First, we start with simple reflexes, and soon after, we develop our first habits. From 4 months old, we become aware of things beyond our own body, and then as we get older, we learn to do things intentionally. A key milestone is the development of working memory, or in Piaget terms, our realization of object permanence. Before that, our mum can show and then hide a teddy, and we would think it's gone. After, we understand that objects continue to exist, even when we can't see them. We start becoming curious about everything. We want to smell flowers, taste food, listen to sounds, and talk to strangers. To explore more, we move. We learn to sit, crawl, stand, walk, and even to run. This increased physical mobility consequently leads to increased cognitive development. But we remain egocentric, meaning we can perceive the world only from our own point of view. 2. The pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7. Our thinking is mainly categorized through symbolic functions and intuitive thoughts. We have lots of fantasies and believe objects are alive. As we are not able to apply specific cognitive operations, Piaget calls this stage pre-operational. We learn to speak and understand that words, images and gestures are symbols for something else. When we draw our family, we are not concerned about drawing each person to scale, but rather with their symbolic meanings. We love to play pretend, which allows us to experience something new and learn a lot. At around age 4, most of us become very curious and ask many questions. We want to know everything. We can call it the birth of primitive reasoning. Piaget calls it the intuitive age, because while we realize that we have a vast amount of knowledge, we have no idea how we acquired it. Our thinking in this stage is still pretty egocentric. We think others see the world like we do, and still don't understand that they see it differently. 3. The concrete operational stage, ages 7 to 11. We finally discover logic, and we develop concrete cognitive operations, such as sorting objects in a certain order. One example of this is inductive reasoning, which means that if we see someone eating a cookie, we can draw a conclusion and then make a generalization. And we now get the concept of conservation. We understand that if we pour orange juice from a normal glass to a taller one, the amount stays the same. Our younger sister will pick the taller glass, thinking she gets more. By the same logic, we only now can understand that if 3 plus 5 equals 8, then 8 minus 3 must equal 5. Our brain learns to rearrange our thoughts, to classify and build concrete operational mental structures. For example, we now know that we can reverse an action by doing the opposite. Excited by our new mental abilities, we apply them in conversations, activities, when we learn to write, and in school. As a result, we get to know ourselves better. We begin to understand that our thoughts and feelings are unique and not necessarily those of others. That means that we learn to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. 4. The formal operational stage, age 12 plus. Once we become teenagers, we become formally operational. We now have the ability to think more rationally about abstract concepts and hypothetical events. Our advanced cognitive abilities allow us to understand abstract concepts such as success and failure, love and hate. We form a deeper understanding of our own identity and our morality. We now also think that we understand why people behave the way they behave, and as a result, can become more compassionate. Our brain can now do deductive reasoning. which means we can compare two statements and reach a logical generalization. Our new mental skills allow us to plan our life systematically and prioritize, and we can make assumptions about events that have no necessary relation to reality. We can now also philosophize and just think about thinking itself. Our new sense for our identity now also creates egocentric thoughts, and some start to see an imaginary audience watching them all the time. Piaget believed in lifelong learning, but insisted that the formal operational stage is the final stage of our cognitive development. Jean Piaget's first interests were animals, and he published his first scientific paper on albino sparrows in 1907, when he was just 11 years old. In 1920, he began working with standardized intelligence tests. He realized that younger children consistently make types of mistakes that older children do not. He concluded that they must think differently, and spent the rest of his life studying the intellectual development of children.
Okay, so it is simple. There are three important learning theories. First one, learning theories. These learning theories are strongly connected to the theory of psychology. Okay, because psychology is studying about human behavior and then what's happening inside of our mind, right? So, particularly when we talk about the learning process, that is also something happens in our mind. Okay, we acquired information from outside, we process, we organize all the information, then we kind of make some kind of hypothetical theory, then we perform certain behavior based on our thinking process, right? So strongly learning theory is related to psychology. So anyhow, when we talk about three important learning theory is, first one was behaviorism. Okay, last quarter when we studied counseling, there were also we have to know some kind of psychological theories, right? There was behaviorism. The most important figure of behaviorism was Ivan Pavlov, right? Dog experiment. When you train the dog, you do some kind of treatment, right? To change dog's behavior, right? So that is behaviorism. Not inside of dog's mind, okay? Something coming outside, that is we call stimuli, kind of trigger that changes behavior of dogs. And then another, also this could be behaviorism. Okay. There are two important behaviorism. First one was classical behaviorism. Second one was operant behaviorism. Okay, you don't need to remember those things. Okay. Another example of behaviorism is okay, when you have children in the classroom, right? You can give children punishment, or you can give you can give reward, right? Praise. Also, you can remove the praise, reward to increase or decrease certain action. Okay? Another way is also you can increase, decrease by giving punishment. Okay? Giving punishment, you can decrease certain action or increase certain action, right? So it is simple. For example, when you have students, okay, they did good quiz, right? One day, like math quiz, they almost got perfect score. So you give them candies, right? So that is more like increasing the class attentions. That's why they can, student can be more focused on the lecture, right? Or another one, you can remove the punishment to increase class attention. Okay, guys, if you behave good, if you really understand this lecture, and then at the end of the quiz, if you do well, I'm not gonna give you assignment. Okay, so students, they do behave good in classroom, they pay more attention to the lecture. Okay. That is all about behaviors. But other than that, cognitism is studying of our mind, our perception, our thinking process, information coming from outside that is stored in our memory that we process. Okay, those things make us learning something. Okay, mind process, thinking process. So some psychologists, they study of something inside of our mind. So they developed learning theory that is cognitivism. So the most important figure in cognitivism is John Piaget. Okay, maybe you guys heard of it, John Piaget. Okay, he developed 4 learning stages of human in his learning theory. Okay, so like video we've seen, this is explanation of 4 stages. Okay, first one is age between birth. Second, we call sensory motor. Sensory means the touches, smells, hearings, right? And then by those sensory, we do some kind of action, right? That is motor, we call motor, yeah. So in this stage, children develop sensory and motor response. So infants, they explore the world through sensory experience, right? And then the following motor actions. Then next stage we call pre-operational stage. That is age between 2 to 7. Children, they develop symbolic thinking. And then they learn the language. But they still struggling, the logical, rational reasoning. When you see children 2 to 7, right? They cry without the reason, right? Sometimes the basic, demands coming from, naturally, right? When they want the candy, they cry, right? Yeah, it is like, we don't see kind of logical reasoning. They just act based on their, demands and needs, right? So in this stage, kids, they don't think logically, okay? They don't think rationally. Rationally means like, 합리적. They don't think 합리적, okay? They just think naturally, biologically. So in this stage, anyhow, they learn the language and symbolic think. Okay, symbolic think is like something like this. Okay, children experience the bird, flying bird, right? In TV, documentary, oh, there are many different birds. So anything that have feather, flying, and the tip of their mouth, the bird mouth. So kids think, oh, these are all birds, right? And then sometimes birds fly, also they sit on trees, right? Symbolic thinking means when children sees the penguin, they never seen the penguin before, but first time they see the penguin, in this stage of children, they think, oh, that's bird too, because it has feather, sharp mouth. That's symbolic thinking. But it is not still 합리적. It is not still rational, not logical. Okay. So next stage, which is concrete operational stage, age between 7 to 11. In this stage, children, they start to think logically. Logically, simple logical means, okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. That's logic, right? So in their mind, they are starting to think that way, logically. Okay. There's the reason, what happened because of that reason, and then what is gonna be result, right? That is logical think. In this stage, children, they start to think logically, little bit of rational. So children in this age, they start to understand the concepts of, like anything, okay? So they, in this stage, also they learn a lot logically, they start to think rationally. Okay, last stage we talk is formal operational stage. Age between 11 or 12 plus. In this stage, abstraction reasoning. Abstraction is like, I can say yoya. I'm sorry, I didn't print, things. Abstracting is like you have ability to find key points of many contents. Okay, let's say you read the book, thick book, right? First, you read chapter 1 in one day, okay? Then, in this stage, children can see, can find what was the author says in chapter 1. That is the ability. They can find out key points in chapter 1 when they read the book, right? Yeah. That is abstracting. Okay, like children, age 11, 12 plus. Okay, they can read a short, let's say newspaper, right? They read newspaper, and then they find what the news reporter are reporting in that newspaper. So they can say when they read whole page of newspaper, say, oh yeah, he can say nowadays, after pandemic, there are many consumer price was higher. So the money value was going down. That's the example of when they read about, economic newspaper, right? News. Then I asked, okay, yeah, hey John, what did you see in that newspaper? Then they can say, yes, teacher, when I read the newspaper and it says, yeah, after the pandemic, the economic was kind of looks good, but effectively it is not working because we are still make same amount of money, but the consumer price was too high. So after the pandemic, our economy was not good as before pandemic, something like that. They can say something like this. Okay, that is formal operational stage, abstracting reasoning. And then also they can give new idea, hypothetical ideas. Okay, hypothetical means something like this. Okay, let's say children, okay, they don't have any knowledge about how our earth, moon, sun, works together, right? They don't know. But by observation, right? Observation means like, we watch carefully, right? So with big telescope, you see the movement of the moon, and then movement of, okay, bare eyes we can see the, sun, right? And then other planets like Mars, okay, then they can develop theory that is hypothetical, it is not recognized theory, but they can say, yes, teacher, when I see the moon, I think moon shape is changing. Sometimes I don't see, the bright moon. Sometimes I see dark moon. So I think maybe, moon, yeah. I see bright moon. Sometimes I see half bright moon. I see dark moon. So I think there should be some kind of light shine on moon. That is hypothetical, okay? to prove that theory is correct, we need to have more observation, we need to have more experimental, practices to prove that theory. Okay, that is hypothetical. Anyway, hypothetical means new idea. Okay, new idea, new theory. So it needs to be proved. Okay, to generally accepted to others. So in this formal operational stage, they have developed to abstracting, reasoning, and hypothetical thinking. So in this stage, so children, they develop the ability to solve complex, complicated problems and think scientifically. What do you think? This stage makes sense? By different age stages? I think so. Yeah, that makes sense. So cognitivism is also applied many fields of our society. First, it is used education. So cognitivist principles that is applied in curriculum design, and that is emphasizing active children's engagement, scaffolding, and meaningful learning experiences. And technology and e-learning, like learning management system, like Moodle, Blackboards, and Google Classrooms. Why? That is interactive cognitive learning. And then also application of cognitism is applied in artificial intelligence and cognitive science. We see many those things these days, right? AI-driven tutoring. Most people think about, say, ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, yes. When you give question to ChatGPT, ChatGPT give answer, not simple answer. Okay, the answer give children to think, produce more ability to process, to answer the more complex questions. So that is AI-driven tutoring is now widely used. So that is leveraging cognitive models to personalize instruction that is based on learners' ability. Also, there's criticism too about cognitism. Okay, its contribution to the learning theory, cognitism has been criticized for underestimated of our emotion. Cognitism basically study of our reasoning, logical process of our mind, okay? But our mind is not, working only as reasoning, not logical, right? Sometimes I do some stupid action without no reason, right? Yeah. So that time our emotions, our experience was involved, right? So cognitism theory, they don't want to see our emotions. They only want to see our brain, how our brain is working. They don't see our mind hurt. Okay? Yeah, that is cognitism. So it is criticized. Why you guys don't want to see our mind? Okay? It hurts. So motivation, right? Sometimes we have strong motivation. You have more, energies, abilities to do something, right? So cognitism, they don't want to see the motivation. Also important thing is social factors, the environment. Also, our environment is good. Really important for students to learn something. If a student is in quiet place, they can study, they can focus more on study, right? But outside of their house was always noise, music's playing, people arguing outside of their house. That is no good environment, right? So those things also, affect the ability of students, the studying process, right? So cognitism, they don't want to see social factors. So that's why they got criticism. I'm not saying it's bad or good, okay? Cognitism, they just wanna see more focused study on our brain. How our brain receives the information, how our brain process that information, the result of the process that is affecting our ability to study, right? That is cognitism. So critics argue that constructivist, another theory we want to talk about is constructivism, okay? People study constructivism give criticism to cognitism. So another theory, the last theory we like to study is constructivism. Okay, we learn 3 learning theories. First one, behaviorism. Behavior is only we learn something from outside. Okay, punishment, reward, some kind of physical environment that affects our behavior. That is behaviorism. What is cognitism? Cognitism, they study only how our brain is processed. Okay, once they receive the information, how information was processed inside of our brain, and the result, how we can act based on the information processed result, right? in constructivism is simple. Adding cognitism, okay? Cognitism is only study of our brain process, right? But constructivism is adding another factor to cognitism, okay? Social factor, emotions, things happen inside of our mind is adding to cognitism. That's what we call constructivism. Okay? Simple. We have behaviorism. We are affected by outside, physically, reward, punishment. Okay? The behaviorism, study of our brain, information process, that is cognitism. Something adds to cognitism, which is social fact, our emotions. That is also important factor to learn something. Okay, that is adding to cognitism. With addition of other factor on cognitism, we call constructivism. Simple. Okay? So, constructivism is also learning theory. Okay? That is emphasize active knowledge. What is active knowledge? You have motivation, right? I want to be doctor. I want to be lawyer. That is motivation. So you study hard, right? Yeah. So it is active knowledge processing, not passive reception. Okay. So that insists that learners build their understanding of world through experiences, reflections, and interactions. That is also important factor for children to learn, right? And then unlike behaviorism, okay, this is different from behaviorism. Behaviorism is only focuses on stimulus and response, right? Or cognitism. Cognitism is only study of processing of information in our brain, okay? But constructivism making sure that knowledge is constructed by the learner rather than transmitted by teacher. More active learning skill we can have in constructivism. Okay? Our brain process, information processing in our mind. Also, we have to have some kind of motivation, emotion. Also, we have things, coming from good environmental effects, ability, for children to study, right? Bad environment also that affects ability of children's learning skills, right? So it is like everything is, put together in constructivism. Okay, let's watch short video of what is constructivism. Okay. Also, Jean Piaget, he first developed cognitism, okay? Later, also he developed more of his cognitism to constructivism. So he has both study constructivism first. Later, Jean Piaget, he also developed constructivism.
What is constructivism? Constructivism is based on the idea that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by one's experiences as a learner. Basically, learners use their previous knowledge as foundation and build on it with new things that they learn. So everyone's individual experiences make their learning unique to them. Constructivism is crucial to understand as an educator because it influences the way all of your students learn. Teachers and instructors that appreciate the constructivist approach to learning understand that their students bring their own unique experiences to the classroom every day. Their background and previous knowledge impact on how they are able to learn. Teachers are able to use constructivist learning theory to help their students understand their previous knowledge. If one is new or aspiring educator, it's important to get the education and credentials one needs. But it's also important to understand learning theories and how they impact her and her students. There are many specific elements and principles of constructivism that shape the way the theory works and applies to students. First is the idea that knowledge is constructed. This is the basic principle in constructivism, which means knowledge is built upon other knowledge. Here, students take bits and pieces and put them together in their own unique way, building something different than what another student will build. The student's previous knowledge, experiences, beliefs, and insights are all important foundations for their continued learning. Second, people learn to learn as they learn. This means learning involves constructing meaning in systems of meaning. For example, if a student is learning the chronology of dates for a series of historical events, at the same time, they are learning the meaning of chronology. If a student is writing a paper about history, they are also learning principles of grammar and writing as well. Thus, each thing we learn gives.
Right. So, okay, history class, right? That means they are children, students. They are not only learning events happen in history. Okay. When they write the report, they also learn the words, meaning of words, right? And then they learn the grammars of the sentence, and they also learn the punctuation of sentences, right? That is what this people learn to learn as they learn. Okay.
A better understanding of other things in the future. Third, learning is an active process. Learning involves sensory input to construct meaning. The learner needs to do something in order to learn. It's not therefore a passive activity. Learners need to engage in the world so they are actively involved in their own learning and development. One cannot just sit and expect to be told things and learn.
Okay, it is important. Constructivism, learning is active action, okay, not a passive. Like, especially for children, young age children, they are more, involved in active like group work with peer students and group discussions, right? Yeah, I think this is good idea. No, that's not a good idea. They do discuss something about the topics, any kind of topics. That is active involvement, not like sitting like this, just hearing. Okay, sometimes active learning means like they do some kind of equation in science, right? Then they go to lab, right? They do practice experiment, right? That is active learning.
Student needs to engage in discussions, reading activities, and the like. Fourth, learning is a social activity. This means that learning is directly associated to our connection with other people. Our teachers, family, or peers, and our acquaintances impact our learning.
So, in this part, learning is also social activity. Okay? Like I said before, cognitive theory that is only focused on the study of information was received from outside. Passive learning, that is, okay? Then cognitism, they study only how our brain received information outside and processed in our brain as the result of the process that affects, influences our behavior. Okay, that is done by passively. Okay, but constructivism is no, not that way. Also, they do emphasis on brain works. Also, another factor is also important: active learning. Children have their ability to accept knowledge, put them together, process, and then working with others, working with teachers, right? And sometimes not only brain process, sometimes our mind has some kind of emotions and motivations, right? Also, that also affects, influences children's learning ability. That is constructivism. So here they say the relation between students, relation with teachers, parents, those things also affects, influences children's learning ability. This is what it says.
Educators are more likely to be successful as they understand that peer involvement is one of the keys in learning. Isolating learnings isn't the best way to help students learn and grow together. Fifth, learning is contextual. Students don't learn isolated facts and theories separate from the rest of our lives. We learn in ways connected to things we already know and what we believe. In other words, the things we learn and the points we tend to remember are connected to the things going on around us. Sixth, knowledge is personal. Because constructivism is based on one's own experiences and beliefs, knowledge becomes a personal affair. Each person will have their own prior knowledge and experiences to bring to the table. So, the way and things people learn and gain from education will all be very different. 7. Learning exists in the mind. This means that hands-on experiences and physical actions are necessary for learning, but those elements aren't enough. Engaging the mind is the key to successful learning.